was out there. Well, Mr. Eberson was the one that they were going to get, and um, he happened to be walking in talking to him, and she says, "I'm going to dunk you too." Then
Oh my God!
he showed up.
All right then.
So it was
Take
really
that.
cool. Yeah, we take that anytime.
It's good.
The kids up to Zanika summer camp this week. So that
Ooh,
was their
Camp
first.
Zanika.
Yeah, first
Man, that goes back a couple of years.
That's a trip. Mosquitoes were so bad, I was thinking they needed malaria shots before I left them.
We were up there one year, just like Wenatchee State Park. And if you got more than 50 yards away from the water and the breeze, they would descend on you
Yeah,
like vultures.
it was a swarm.
through your shirt, through it, whatever. They didn't care.
It's dinner time.
Oh, yeah. Truly. Good news on our wealth for tonight?
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Just waiting for Tess. Tess will be back tomorrow and back online by probably 10. Got to do all that work and then get it up and running. You still have to take samples of the water, and it
Sure.
ends up heading down to the Tri-Cities.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, that solves that question.
What?
Whether you're gonna make it or not.
You know, when you get 20 questions, I know I gotta go. I go. I gotta go.
If the internet goes down, you can still have a quorum, Bruce.
Hmm?
I say if the internet goes down, you still have a quorum.
Still have a quorum. Maybe Mike and maybe Sarah.
Okay.
Do we have anybody online?
Been requesting them, so once if they do log on, it'll pop up that I've requested them.
Flip the screen, whatever reverse the screen, so the names aren't backwards on there.
No.
So you know what I found out on my trip? What the biggest thing that city council faces in Charleston?
Hmm.
The
Water.
Historical Society.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Some of those are pretty powerful groups too.
Yeah,
Change your windows or nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's like the daughters of
Not getting approval.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, they gave me
That
a
is-
scholarship for college. I'm not gonna be
Not
against.
colonial red. I'm
But
sorry.
they said it was through like nature or an act of God before they could do a lot of the changes. We went on one of the horse carriages.
Call that Georgian.
It was interesting. I saw the smallest municipal building. It's about as big as that closet. And the horses have to stop and they do like a bingo and they draw a number and they're like, you get B2. And so that's the course you travel. They have a duty patrol, which is the horse. They call it that.
Sure.
Didn't know. And it's literally on the sides of their thing, duty patrol. I saw the smallest park there, live oak. Everything else was destroyed in one of the hurricanes except that live oak. And
Your name
it is a dedicated park space. And I was like, hey, that's
They
neat.
Blow your roll there.
spoke English and took U.S. currency, but otherwise, you're not really sure that they were part of the country.
Right?
Is Charleston the place that has the tree that owns itself?
The park, the city park.
That's the
Yeah.
tree that owns itself? Okay.
City park. He's like, there's your small city park. And it was literally like
Yeah.
a slab of
Some guy really loved that tree, and when he gave up his estate, he left a trust for the tree. And so there's a small fund that funds the maintenance of the tree.
Nat and a cat.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing? Okay. Meeting will come to order. Let the record show that Sarah and Bo and Mike are not here tonight. Need a motion to excuse.
So move.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are a couple of additions or corrections to the agenda on number 7. Resolutions, number D, ratifying a purchase and sale agreement. We're moving that right after the consent agenda, in case one of our counselors goes down so we can have a quorum. And the other one is we're adding on number 2, the workshop. But he is asking to address the council, so we'll move on. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathleen. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Community Development Comprehensive Plan Update. That's right, back to Ron.
This time you don't have to listen to me talk. We have Aaron here with SCJ Alliance, so I'll turn it over to him. Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Mercar with CJ Alliance. Seen a few of you before. It's been a couple of years though. So I'm back to talk about some more planning work that's coming your way. I guess next slide. Oh, yeah. So just kind of an overview of what kind of brought us here today. So I know that this group, city staff, have worked on prioritizing development of impact fees to make sure that new development and Ephrata has the proper infrastructure and facilities that are going to be able to serve those. So that's things like making sure that transportation facilities are in place and parks are provided to make sure that new development and new population here are able to access those public services. So that was kind of that spurred this conversation that started a few months ago. And then we ended up realizing that the periodic comp plan update is also going to align well if we just were to kind of combine these efforts. So what we've done, next slide, that I'm going to kind of propose tonight and walk you through just briefly is these 4 different efforts that we're trying to combine into this overall larger planning effort. So first being your periodic comp plan update that's due in 2027. So that's a GMA requirement. Additionally, a new element, this climate resiliency element, is now required by the state. So I'll walk you through briefly what that entails. Third is this transportation and parks impact fee study. And then finally, with some of the leftover funding or potential, something we could loop into this effort is a downtown plan and floodplain study. So I'll also touch on that. Next slide. So to start with the periodic update, the GMA, Growth Management Act, requires cities and counties to periodically update their comprehensive plans, development regulations, and critical areas ordinance. So these 3 components are required to be updated every 10 years. And it's really supposed to reflect the current community needs, growth patterns, making sure that you're up to date with state law, and making sure that all of that's informed by community engagement. We did do this a couple of years ago in Ephrata. We updated the comprehensive plan in 2023, and that was off cycle, but that was to make up for the last time. So this time it does seem soon to be updating it again, but it is required by the state that your next update is due June 30th, 2027. So That's still 2 years away, but the funding for that the funding opportunities from the state have already started. So we're looking into those with the city staff and making sure that the city gets the funds that it is entitled to. So that should be fully funded through a state grant. Next, please. We also have the climate resiliency element. So this is a more recent requirement of the GMA. The comp plan will now require a climate element. What they're calling it is a climate change and resiliency element. This is also state funded to make sure that that cities are able to meet this requirement. So the state has provided funding for cities and counties to be able to do this work. And Ephrata has already secured funding for this through the Department of Commerce. What this grant will cover to make sure that we meet the state requirements are public outreach regarding climate efforts, exploring expected climate change impacts. So that is specific to what climate impacts mean for Ephrata. And that is, that could be excessive heat, drought, smoke. I know wildfire smoke can affect large areas of eastern Washington. Floods, so also related to the floodplain effort, which I'll touch on in a little bit. There may be some opportunity to use some of these funds to explore floodplain mitigation efforts. The grant also covers auditing and existing plans and policies, how this all fits into the larger framework of Ephrata. We're also going to be able to assess vulnerability and risks to local assets. So how those climate elements may impact some of Ephrata's local assets. And then finally, working that all into a climate resiliency element that has goals and policies associated with all of those efforts. Next, please. Then the transportation planning and impact fee work. So in order to get to a place where we can implement impact fees for traffic impact fees and park impact fees, we do have to do a little bit of legwork. It's probably a little bit backwards of the way it should be done, where usually we might want to do the comp plan effort before implementing impact fees, but I know this is a priority. So I think we figure out a way in this scope of work that you have all been presented with to prioritize this effort to get it done this year. So that would be still scheduled to be complete before 2026. And the things that we have to make sure we get done first is like a land capacity analysis. So making sure that we know what the future projections of transportation and land use look like within the city. So we can do a little bit of that ahead of time. We may want to explore again at the end of the comp plan process in 2027. If things have changed significantly, we may want to revisit the impact fee work if things have changed significantly from what we outlined this year. But that will give you a really good picture of what you need to do with your transportation network. So it's going to go towards a solid transportation plan that will be looped into that larger comp plan effort. So they really will speak to each other and flow well. And then finally, we've taken a look at all the funding available for these projects, and we think there's enough room, time, and budget to incorporate a downtown plan / floodplain study is what we're calling it, because we know that the floodplain is a really big issue that affects downtown Ephrata. So we're making we want to be able to do a study that looks at the floodplain, and again, not promising anything that's going to necessarily change, but we could take a look at what our options are and what potential mitigation measures we could take to reduce impacts from the floodplain on downtown. So that's the goal of this part of scope. Please. And then I'll just kind of go over our project phasing. So our timeline. So like I said, we're going to move up this transportation plan and impact fee study into getting it done this year. Our climate grant and our comprehensive plan grant both start. They're both eligible for reimbursement by the grant starting July 1st, so yesterday. So once those are secured and we have the scope laid out, we can actually get started on those. We do have it phased a little bit to make sure that some of this transportation plan and impact fee study work can be prioritized, and we make sure to get started on that. So we'll probably have a phased approach, but as you see, we do have 2 full years to complete both the climate plan and the comprehensive plan periodic update. We'll also make sure that the downtown and floodplain plan gets started probably early 2026, just to make sure that that speaks to and coordinates well with the comp plan and climate funding and efforts as well. So here's kind of a broad overview of how we've broken it down into phases for this project. So we have our phase 1, which is just our project management. So that's everything that we need to do to coordinate with staff and make sure that the project runs smoothly. Our phase 2 is that periodic update. So that's our comp plan, critical areas, ordinance, and development regulations. Phases 3 and 4 speak to that transportation plan and impact fee work. Phase 5 is our climate resiliency plan, and phase 6 is the downtown plan. We also have an expenses phase and phase 98, which is a management reserve. So there is some flexibility still in the budget to adjust as needed, whether it's more public engagement, additional workshops with city council or planning commission, or just if other scope or other ideas for the scope come up throughout this process. So there is flexibility in all of that, and there isn't any additional funding needed. Basically through the commerce grants for the climate element and the comp plan and the funding already approved by council, that covers all of it. So we don't necessarily need to approve any additional funding for work. I think that covers my overview, and I'm happy to take questions.
I'd really welcome whatever efforts you're going to put into the downtown revitalization and the floodplain. Generally speaking, what can I expect out of that? Are you going to suggest some ordinance changes, some beautification efforts? What?
Yeah, so I just kind of thinking of how the climate funding can be used. So the climate funding grant is $150,000, and based on other projects we've done, that's more than enough money to do what's required for that work. So it'd be great if we could use some of that. However, the climate funding can only be used in the name of the forwarding climate mitigation efforts. So I would say that part of it, we really want to look at floodplain mitigation. Now, if we could use some of the other like city funded part of it, we could look at downtown revitalization. So have the kind of 2-pronged approach and say, part of this is using climate funding to look at floodplain mitigation. Part of this is looking at what can we actually do to do some downtown revitalization.
Sure. Well, floodplain is obviously a huge deal for us. We've kind of been stuck without any options for a very long time. So any suggestions you come up with are going to be welcome.
And we do have a floodplain and SEPA specialist on staff
Awesome.
at SCJ. So I would definitely make sure he's roped into this project.
Yeah, anything we can do to mitigate our floodplain issues, that's a top of the list topic, I think, for us now.
Right.
So you got your work cut out for you.
So you've seen a draft scope of work. You've had a presentation on it now. At the next meeting, the approval of the contract will be before you. And unless you say otherwise, we're going to plan to put it on the consent agenda. If you want to pull it off to ask questions, obviously the contract will get legal review first before it comes to you, but unless there's a reason to pull it off, our plan is to put it on the consent agenda for you.
All right. Worth the trip. Thank you for coming down. Anything to add, Rob?
More. No.
All right.
I think you've heard way too much from me in the last couple of weeks.
It looks like we're going to be hearing it for quite a while. Yeah. Good. All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could real quick, I just want to point out that Councilor Warren and Councilor McDonald are online. They did join us.
They joined as attendees, not presenters, so they're not going to pop up on the side there, but they are. I can see that they're in here.
So my
Good.
question is, can they vote?
You need to ask that person sitting next to you.
Yeah, they need to be able to participate in the discussion.
Oh, they raised their hand. Let me show you this. Person just raised their hands. I don't know if that's sufficient enough for.
Can they chat?
Yeah, we've got to get them as either presenters so they can partake.
Are you in contact with them? Because they're going to need to get out of where they're at and then go rejoin as a presenter.
Did you send them a different link or
It's the same link I sent them.
they have to get out and then come back in? I think they can hear you.
And also, I can send them the invite again, the direct right now, if they want to. And it looks like they're not going through Teams. They're just going through their personal device, so it's not going to let them go. Like their team account is approved for presenting, so they need to go through Teams.
Caitlin, can they at least chat as just an attendee?
They should be able to, yes.
Okay.
I can try and see.
Your 21st century legal questions. How attended are you attended?
Are you a
correct, yeah.
presenter or just an attendee?
It says the link is for a guest only. Sarah says she is logged in as her city account.
Okay, she's the only one that I can see is offline right now. I just sent her a request.
Same with Mike.
Mike's not online, so I can't.
Mike says he's online and he can hear it.
There's a phone number online, but not his.
So what do you need him to do?
Not to Teams.
It's just how to do it.
So Sarah is trying to call in. She's not on Teams.
They're only going to be able to be presenters as like through Teams.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even be able to chat if they're call-ins.
The link I sent them was a Teams link, so it should go through Teams if they're following that link that I provided them.
Say again.
The link I provided them was the Teams specific,
Teams
so
number?
it should be going through Teams, like their account on Teams. If they're just calling in, then it's just an audience member.
She says the most that she can do calling is raise her hand. She says to guess the link is what she's getting. It's not a presenter participant.
Still.
It's not anything that it's later.
So this is online. I think it's because she's already in it.
And we're hang up.
Yeah, so have Sarah hang up, I'll request it, see what will
What now?
have her hang up. Yes, please.
Okay. And are you gonna call her?
Yes.
Oh wait, now she says she's in.
Magic.
I'm in the waiting room on Teams now, she says.
Shouldn't be a waiting room for this one.
No,
You don't have a waiting room. Town hall, there's not a hall.
So we have her hang up. She does not have Teams on her phone.
Yes, this all needs to be done through Teams. They can be on your phone, but it has to be done through Teams. Or the laptop. Is the hand raising not sufficient?
Because they can't participate in the discussion. That's the issue.
Yeah.
I can call them both and just.
Do a conference call. I think that would be good.
I think the only way to fix this right now would be to completely end the meeting, which is that's what we're doing. So
What?
I think we'd have to end the whole meeting and re-go back to it, which we don't want to do. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Oh, love technology.
Don't mind us.
I feel their frustration, 'cause that was me a couple weeks ago, trying to get on.
Get with Dalton because every time we've had this sorted out, it's fixed for a meeting, but then
The
a new
issue.
thing arises.
So I'm gonna put you on hold real quick. Okay, I'm gonna merge you with Sarah so we have you on the phone. Sarah, are you with us? And Mike, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Phil, can you set this by your little sound pod?
Absolutely.
And you kind of have to put moderator. Speakers on the bottom there.
Got it.
All right, we're good to
We're
go.
rolling.
All right. So, thanks again from SGA. We're going to move on and so we can get this thing done to resolutions, and we're going to go to resolution 25-42, the ratifying of purchase and sale agreement.
Um, in accordance with our council goals, city, if you can read the RCA, we've saving for some time under recognizing that we have some issues with our current space. Council's been directing us to save money for a new facility for city operations for several years. We have, in fact, based on council's direction, made an offer which was accepted at the Rite Aid building. So we now have before you a request to ratify that purchase and sale agreement. We do have some pictures to show of some of the reasons that we are looking at new spaces. I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Eric and let him kind of present some of the issues that they face in the police department every day.
Evening. Council.
See how easy that was just in person? Yeah, that was cool.
So easy.
Oh,
So yeah, I've got it. It's a PowerPoint, but mainly the pictures are what we're after. Give you a little history. The police department City Hall has been in this building, which was manufactured in 1955. It was remodeled for city use in 1973, and it's approximately 9,000 square feet. The police department utilizes about 3,600 feet of it. So it gives you kind of an idea of the space. So obviously we're located downtown Ephrata. We occupied the back of the building where the patrol cars are. The white section of the building was a garage that because of need of space that we've converted that into office space, which is not necessarily ideal with the cinder block and temperatures and that kind of stuff. So we can put that in. Also with this, our parking is unsecure. Access for the officers is also unsecure, which modern police departments generally have secure parking to secure cars and such. I don't know if you remember years ago, patrol cars got, bombs on them, blew up, that kind of stuff. So, and also officer safety with the egress and such of the building. The other thing that challenges that we find with being at the rear of the building is kind of access to get out. Obviously, this is kind of a hub of city functions with the ERC. We deal with parking issues when there's events at the ERC that either take police parking and or block us to get out. We also have challenges with our neighbors with Les Schwab. They offload tires, which blocks the alley. And then we have our ratepayers that block the other end of the alley trying to pay their bills because the pay box is right there on the corner. So those are a couple challenges. Next one. Kind of talked about this already. This is one of our exits from the police department. This one actually has a steel door. We can pop to the next slide. This door is just a standard residential. And then obviously this was a garage door at one time. So this is just a stick framed kind of fill in to access the building, which obviously has concerns with somebody that wanted to drive their car through. I mean, it's just 2x4s that they could enter our facility. So next slide. Oh, this is kind of case in point with a residential door, how easy they are to breach, and obviously a security concern. We can skip on to the next. This is kind of reminiscent of what most departments do for a secure facility, to secure egress in and out of their departments, and then to secure vehicles. So we do have a car wash. It's kind of a challenge as city staff has grown. More parking on the back of the building happens, so it's difficult to wash cars. Even if the spot's open, then all the overspray goes on their personal cars, which isn't necessarily ideal. So we're working to try and move that around to the front of the building. Just we're waiting to get a large cement picnic table moved so we can make that happen. So next slide, please. Here's our lobby. Originally, we had a decent sized lobby. Between accreditation and also the growth of the department needing more office space, we encroached on that lobby space, which isn't ideal. I mean, we can get 2-3 people in our lobby currently. It's pretty confined. So next one. Again, we've got another residential door within the police department to gain access, which is a security issue. So next one. The department has gone under multiple remodels through the years to create more office space and such. And kind of with that, they were done during the periods of time of do more with less. So we have a hodgepodge of these weird, kind of unusable spaces. So, and then because of the need of space for employees and such, stuff for supplies and everything else, storage space is at a premium. So this is kind of our records room, which also kind of serves as a storage room. And anyway, we don't have enough storage space to get by. This is a picture of our officers' room. 8 officers share this space. So again, a need to enlarge and grow the space. So this is actually a part in the garage. So next slide. Our officer space or sergeant space. 4 sergeants share this small office space. Next page. Our armory, we've got a space to store ammunition, firearms, that kind of stuff, but it is grossly undersized. And then there's no weapons cleaning area or anything that is vented. So the whole department, well, our side of the building generally knows when firearms are being cleaned because it emanates through the whole facility. Which is the health and safety aspect. We don't have an area for breaks, so most employees eat at their workstations, which isn't ideal. So
how did you convince Jennifer to let you break that?
Well, it was kind of caught off guard. Next slide. Being a building that was built in 1955, we've struggled, and I believe City Hall has struggled too, with plumbing issues. Basically all we have is 4 sinks, 2 toilets, a urinal, and a shower, but they routinely back up and create issues. I have another slide coming up, some of the mitigation. This one has been, I don't know how many times the plumber has been here to clean out that sink. For years, the police department struggled with odors. So the first solution was to seal the floor vents, which then if a toilet leaks or urine is an issue. But the sealing of the floor vent subsided the smell for a while. And then a couple of years later, this smell returned. It wasn't until we actually did a remodel of the bathrooms that it was discovered that the vent pipe had actually been corroded through and was venting within the building. So all the sewer gas, all that stuff was actually being vented into our space and creating this issue. So, and that's plumbing that's above the ground. I don't know with the plumbing below, and probably why the shower doesn't drain, all that kind of stuff. So, next slide. Here's case in point, the shower that it's a mystery whether it'll drain or not. So most, instead of it taking a shower and taking the chance if sewer's going to come back up or not, it's left for an emergency. So our locker room is grossly undersized. As the department grew, we actually put in half-size lockers for each member because we didn't have enough space for full-size lockers. So at least they would have locker space. But imagine having a change of uniform, a winter jacket and stuff in a half-size locker, and then your normal things for work. And then that is also shared with a vast array of electrical panels and a generator switch and such. It is also just one locker room, and we do have both sexes, so it's challenging. Next slide, please. This is kind of our modified food prep area. No sink is there. It is also a challenge of space. We have electrical boxes that are there. Essentially a fridge and a small countertop for the microwave. So, and then you have to go around the corner if you wanted to wash off your fork or your dishes before you took them home. So, next slide. Evidence processing, kind of the same boat. We're vastly undersized. Industry standard is you have temporary lockers that have a pass through to your full-time storage. We have lockers that we have to go in and then clean out. They're not pass through, so it complicates returning evidence, taking evidence in. So, and then our evidence storage is also small enough that we actually have to have an off-site storage to retain our bigger evidence items and our longer-term storage because we don't have enough room on site to store all that. So, next slide, please. We do have a detective's office, which is rather small because of the change. It's in the garage, so HVAC is an issue. So we had to add an external that from that outside picture you could see it. So that's the air conditioning for that office. And then our interview room that doesn't have any air. So if you close the door, it either gets really warm or it gets really cold. So also challenges with converting a garage to office space. Clerical spot or clerical space, again, it's small. It's kind of a strange space, and it offers no storage. So next slide, please. So our office manager has, and actually back in 1973, and when I started, the evidence manager is actually in a space that used to be the smoking room. It's up in the front, and then it has access to our records room. But it is way too close to the restrooms, and she has to put up with mysterious smells and odors because of the close proximity. It's probably less than 8 feet from that bathroom door to her workstation. So vastly not a good plan for that location. We talked about this a little bit already, that we have the garage, so kind of the need for additional HVAC. These are two external, one's a split AC for the officer's room, and then the external air conditioning for the detective's office. We do have other HVAC issues. We have a thermostat that's in the captain's office, which is kind of half our office. And then also the building department. So our guys wear heavy vests, that kind of stuff. So a lot of times they'll set the thermostat here, and then building suffers because they're not. Usually in the summer they freeze, and in the winter they're too. Anyway, so next slide, please. Anyway, this is going into we don't have a training room. We do have a large requirement for training. We have to beg, plead, and steal to either get this facility, the ERC, or the fire department to try and make trainings happen. Also, no conference. We have no other space to hold meetings and those kinds of things. And we talked about the locker rooms, that we have one small one, and we do have both sexes, and it's a challenge. So, yeah, this kind of goes over. In closing, police department, along with City Hall, we're located in 1955 building that was renovated in 1973, and we're essentially still in that 1973 building.
We budgeted for a code enforcement / building inspector. We had to wait for Leslie's retirement because we literally had no place to put them. We've kind of reached that realm within City Hall. The police department specifically has been limping along in substandard conditions. We've done a little bit better on this half of the room, the building. Sean and Ron and I at times will be either frozen out or sweated out, depending on what's going on the other side of the building. So I want to share that, particularly the public may not have an understanding because they don't get to go back there to see the conditions that the guys and the gals are dealing with back there.
I took a tour back there a couple weeks ago, and outside of upping your budget for air fresheners and box fans, I didn't have a whole lot of ideas for you, but yeah, I think we can do better.
Anything from Mike or Sarah?
I got the gist of it. It was kind of in and out a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
We have the purchase and sale agreement in your council packet. The asking price was 2.5 million. Based on conversations with each counselor, set a limit of 2.3 million, and that's what we were able to bring them down to. They claimed to have another offer on the table. Whether they actually did or not, who knows, but they did accept 2.3 with 60 days for a contingency for us to do due diligence and make sure we could make do with the spaces that we have. So, and that the space would work for us. Later on tonight, you'll be approving a professional services agreement with Design West for exactly that. So,
All right. Thanks, Ray. Need a motion to accept Resolution 25-42, the purchase and sale agreement for the Rite Aid facility.
So moved.
Thank you, Phil. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Val. Questions or comments?
I was a little reluctant at the front end of this, but we've been looking at this for a very, very long time, and this is far and away the best option we've had come before us. Very interested to see what kind of strategies and plans you could do with more space like that. As a part of the retail district, I hate to see another piece of the retail puzzle disappear, but I don't want an empty building there either. That's a huge eyesore as long as it remains. I don't think it's the long-term solution for Ephrata for having the different government agencies buy up whatever pieces of property happen to come vacant. But this completely follows with the footsteps we followed before. This used to be a Safeway. Safeway moved on. We took that opportunity, and we've gotten a really good 60 years out of it. But this is, I think, sinking more money into this building is a waste of taxpayer money. They got their value out of it, and look forward to a new direction and give the city a badly needed update.
Thanks, Matt. Anything from Mike or Sarah? Motion before council, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sarah?
Sarah, we couldn't hear you.
Opposed? Sarah, are you still with us? Sounds like we may have lost her.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Now we can.
I'm in favor.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. All right. So let me see. We got that. We got that. We got that. Okay.
Shop recap.
Clustering around. Yep. Port of Ephrata City Workshop recap.
We added the minutes to the packet for you. You have a copy there in front of you. I don't know if council has anything they'd like to add. I feel like it was productive and gave us a pathway forward. David and I haven't had a chance to touch base with it, but I think it will move forward. Both entities working together, and it appears that there's some definitely common ground.
Great. Thank you. Work out well for the port, David? Yeah. Great. Good. Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Moving on to the resolutions, 25-46, declaring surplus vehicles.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Before you is a request for the resolution to surplus 7 pieces of equipment that we have determined that are no longer useful to the city, or they've reached the end of their useful life period. There's pictures included in the packet that you can see what we're talking about. We've had some discussions in-house about the possibility of how this auction comes out, utilizing the funds from this to maybe purchase a used commercial mower to replace the gang mower that we're currently using. That we haven't made that decision yet, but anyway, this is just part of the process to lean our fleet down and try to create a newer, better looking fleet.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Need a motion to accept resolution 25-46, the declaring of the 7 surplus vehicles.
Moved.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Second.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have to take her silence as a, we're good to,
I think I heard a yes in there.
we're good to,
Sarah, is she still with us? She was literally trying to get on just for the building vote, so she may have gotten off. She's trying.
with the vote, it passes. Thank you. Resolution 25-47, approving the professional services agreement with Design West.
Mayor, councilors, again, before you is a resolution requesting approval for the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with Design West Architects to perform a feasibility study for looking at this building and both the Rite Aid building for the future use of the city. We sent out a request for qualifications. We've received 6 submittals. We went through a scoring process, and Design West Architects came out on top, and we had a close second. One of the good things about Design West's proposal, or what shined to a lot of staff, was they've done a fair amount of work for the Ephrata School District. So they've been in Ephrata, they're aware of Ephrata's culture and what's important to us. Now, that was a weighing factor to staff.
All right, thanks, Rob. Need a motion to accept resolution 25-47, the professional services agreement with Design West.
So moved.
Thanks, Matt. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Val. Questions? Comments?
Question. I'm assuming the timeline for getting this report back is under the 60 days that we have to change our
I
mind.
know that it's a tight turnaround.
That's all I have.
Any others? Mike? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Resolution 25-48 to declare a declaration of emergency for well number 3.
Mayor, councilors, we have a PowerPoint presentation for you, kind of showing the chain of events that have happened in the past few weeks that put our well 3 prior to presenting this declaration to you. So on June 24th, we received a phone call from Irrigation Technology Control. They had been reached out, they had been contacted by staff that we were having some issues at well 3. In other words, the motor would run, but it wouldn't produce water, and it was making some pretty horrendous sounds. Upon that notification, due to the projected weather conditions and well 5 being offline, staff recommended to the mayor that we declare a state of emergency so that we could expedite repairs. So what this picture is here, it was on the 25th, ITC got on site and they started pulling the pump for us. And regardless of what iFiber actually showed on the news, this is the column pipe that came out of the hole. It wasn't that crusted up, crappy looking stuff that it actually was. I guess I also want to point out that you could still read the printing on the pipe. This well had been taken apart in 2000, but what they showed on the news was something from probably 60, 50 years ago. This is actually what the column pipe looked like. At approximately 130 feet, we found the broken line shaft. That's looking at the end of one piece of the shaft as it came out. Unfortunately, as the crew was removing the line shaft, it was actually broken into 3 pieces. They dropped a section of line shaft and it fell the 300 and some odd feet left down to where the pump was. That is a picture of what a bearing looks like and what an actual spider looks like inside of the column pipe. And this is the end result of dropping 30 some feet of line shaft down the hole. As it hit the spider in the web, it bent the shaft all the way down. This is the pump as it actually, after it was removed from the hole. You can see on the end there that it has the intake screen on it. This was just as it came out of the hole when we were getting ready to load it up on the truck. On Thursday night, after the pump came out of the hole, we were notified by ITC as they were taking it apart. You can see there's a crack in the housing there, and then there's a broken flange. After we received this information and we consulted with ITC on the price to repair the pump, rebuild the pump versus putting it back in and hoping. We were quoted that all the price in rebuilding the pump is getting it in and out of the hole. Well, we've already had to take it out of the hole. And so the decision was made to go ahead and spend the additional $3,000 or $4,000 that it was going to cost to go ahead and just completely rebuild the pump since we had it out of the hole. This is the brand new stainless line shaft that we replaced that went back into the hole instead of in 2000 when the pump was removed the last time. They sleeved the old line shaft with stainless sleeves and used it again. We chose this time to replace the line shaft. It was an added expense, but we figured with the time and everything that the pump has on it's probably just best let's just fix it. This was a crew setting the wellhead. This was at about 9 o'clock on Monday night. There's the wellhead in place just before it's bolted down. The pump that's the actual motor getting set and bolted down. And just because you've probably never seen it before, this is just down on Sagebrush Flats Road. This is where we're actually flushing the pump to. There's a valve right next to this hydrant that separates that well 5 and well 3 from the system. We've got that well off where this fire hydrant's open, and we currently have a diffuser on it so that we can run that pump without pushing water back into the system. Council have any questions on that part of it?
I just want to state between Eric and you tonight with these PowerPoints, as sitting on this side of the bench, I really appreciate that kind of stuff. I think there's nothing better than a little bit of video or a picture to reinforce. You could have sat here and told me all about that, and without the pictures, in and out. So I really appreciate what you guys did tonight.
Ray's recommendation.
Yeah. Well, take the win.
I think the win.
There you go.
I need to share it.
Yeah.
So what's before you is an emergency declaration for the repairs on well 3. As we just stated in the presentation, with the circumstances that were behind that. Currently, the update on well 3, which we didn't get to on that. We flushed well 3 this morning, got the chlorine residuals down to below what our system level is. The samples were taken at about 8 o'clock. We had an employee drive the samples to one sample to the Tri-Cities, and we have another sample that's actually in our lab at the sewer plant. That is the results that we'll get from our sewer plant is an unofficial results, but it's kind of a predecessor to the expected results from an accredited lab. And then we should have the results back from Tri-Cities by 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. If those results come back as we're expecting, we hope to have that well back online by about 11 o'clock tomorrow, and we can go back to normal.
Great. You got that, Nance? Thanks, Rob. Need a motion to accept resolution 25-48, the emergency of well number 3.
So moved.
Thanks, Matt. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Phil. Any other questions? Mike, you okay there?
Yep, I'm still here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? So moved. Rob, thanks everybody that was involved with that one. That was a tough one. All right. That was a good night. Anything else? Great, we're good.
Just real quick, code enforcement / building official. I mentioned earlier that job description is out. The job announcement is out. If you're aware of anybody that's interested, send them our way.
And we're getting good positive feedback. What, 7? 5?
5 completed.
5 completed applications in the first few days, and we're open until. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned. This one that we're talking about is like you're leaving town up over the bridge towards Grand Heights. Okay. We'll go over that little bridge at the bottom, and it gets kind of windy. It's probably a quarter mile or